So as a business, StratexSystems, we're a technology business, obviously focused on delivering an integrated strategy and risk management solution, and really focused on how do we help you execute strategy better, improve your capital efficiency, reduce your operational losses. So it's really nice to hear Kevin, Gillian talking about those kind of measures and seeing that real improvement coming through. And one thing there, I say on the slide there, 100% confidence in you're operating within appetite. And that, I think that's sort of an intangible, but do we feel like this is working and the business is sort of operating within its appetite? We think we provide one of the most comprehensive solutions in the market today, and we address all three lines, and we focus, we allow you to do kind of the strategy piece, the balanced scorecard, some you'll be familiar with, and then operational enterprise risk management, and also cover off the sort of risk-based internal auditing requirements. So a very comprehensive solution, delivered via a SharePoint platform. So from a technology point of view, this is not a technology-heavy product. It's part of SharePoint. We've got one client just down the road here. All of their people will talk about doing risk management through their SharePoint sites. They don't even know that they're using our application. So it's part of the culture, it's part of their day-to-day working environment. And SharePoint, from a platform point of view from Microsoft, it's one of Microsoft's most successful products. And it's a very engaging tool and touches on the reason we sort of started with SharePoint was simply the belief that you can go through all the policies and procedures and all the sort of mechanical steps here, but really to make strategy work, to make risk management work, it's about culture and it's about engagement, and that's where SharePoint kind of plays a key role. Our solution is built on a very powerful business methodology, which, as I say, brings together strategy and risk management. How do we compare to our competitors? This was an evaluation done by a system integrator, Cognizant, late last year, in a tender process, a very rigid, detailed tender process for a very large bank. And this was an internal slide that we managed to borrow from Cognizant, and it obviously paints us in a good light. We feel one of the key things about us as a business and also the solution is it really enables that risk, the risk journeys that we've been talking about this morning. And we kind of stepped out on some key kind of milestone points. I think we actually created this slide with Kevin or as part of that process. And it really sort of, often we see our clients start out, there's a regulatory requirement, there's a feeling we need to do something, but the regulator's really pushing that forward. And over time that goes from being a regulatory driver to more of a, how does this process called risk management really deliver business value to us on an ongoing basis and making it much more sustainable. And through that journey, at each of those points, you need to have a solution that can engage each of the three lines and really provide value at each of those three lines. And one of the things that Kevin touched on, I think Gillian, the same. The solution is very comprehensive, but it's kind of modular, so you can start off and you can decide where to start, and that solution will grow with as you mature and as you go through that journey and perhaps move through the different lines of defence. And just one of the quick things, it's a very quick implementation. We're not talking 6-9 months sort of in the technical implementations. We're a very fast tool to get implemented, and we very much believe in getting up and running, getting results, and evolving rather than seeking perfection. There's a couple of sort of 7 questions that we often talk about in terms of the risk management journey and would ask you to kind of think about. So one of the things we'll talk about is, what are your business objectives? What's your risk appetite? What are your key risks, key controls? These are all the kind of questions that I suspect many of you have been asked or are asking of yourselves. So I just want to kind of frame them, and we'll just run through how the solution can help answer some of those questions. We start off with the front page. This is a typical standard front page, although very, very much customizable. This part of the front page shows you all the actions you need to take. So what do you need to update, assess, etc., as an individual. And this part shows you the items in your risk framework. And with the red indicators, it bubbles up from below in the framework where the issues are. And those actions and items, as well as being on this page, they appear in your Outlook task list by default. So this just gives you a sense of what the framework looks like and what your role in that framework is. It's purely customizable, so it's totally customizable. So we've got clients who say, actually, we might, for our senior executives, go for a much simpler page, or for our risk champion community, we might go for a more detailed page. Easy to do. One of the first steps we will do is help you organise and sort of define your organisational structure. And it still amazes me today how many times we do implementations and people kind of look at this view of their organisation and kind of go, oh, that's what we look like. But so fundamentally, an organisational chart, if you like, is developed in an automated tool. It's completely in-level, so it's as flexible and as deep as you like. And then from that organisational chart, we hang off the different components and elements. So your objectives, your risks, your controls, your processes, your systems, etc., etc., etc. One thing that you probably won't see often in other risk systems, but is important to us, is a strategy map. So we very strongly believe that risk management starts with an understanding of what you do as a business and what you're trying to achieve. Strategy map is one of the most widely used tools for that. We tweak it a little bit, so we map out your organisational objectives, both financially, what are you trying to achieve, what does that look like for your customers. Okay, once you know those outcomes, what key internal processes do you need to deliver, and knowing what those processes are, what does our organisational need to look like in terms of people, systems, etc., and culture. And one of the things we do, we just bring it at the surface level of our objectives. You can see the PRC, so we're just giving you an indication of, at that objective, underneath that, what does our performance indicators look like, what do our risk indicators look like, what do our control indicators look like. Both Gillian and Kevin talked a lot about risk appetite, and this is a risk appetite alignment matrix that we use, part of the system, and it just shows you how aligned your risk appetite, your current exposure versus your risk appetite is. So are you aligned, i.e. on the diagonal? Are you above your appetite, so taking too much risk? Or as Philip pointed out, are you below the line here? Are you not taking enough risk? And that can really, during the implementation, that's a question that often is not asked and can really transform how people think about risk management and see it as a revenue opportunity. Yeah. Definition of risks, controls, etc. Kevin mentioned that they wanted a system which kind of looked and felt like Excel, and your SharePoint kind of does that. Very easy to use, so some simple forms you can use to capture key components of your risks and your controls. We can see we've got the accountabilities in there. At the risk level, you can capture the detail that Gillian mentioned, the causes, consequences, key risk indicators. One key point to make here, these forms come as a standard, there's a standard set of fields you fill out, which can be customized to you. So one of the critical things about our system, one of the things I think both Gillian, Kevin and other clients get value out of, is you can add more and more detail at each level. So it's a very flexible system in a similar way to what Excel allows you to kind of flex the framework. This does the same thing, and that's something that is done through customization, point and click, not cutting code. Very flexible in terms of how you want to configure your risk appetites and risk impacts. So you can look at the levels. You can have your 3x3, 4x4, 5x5, whatever heat map and levels of risk you want to look at or think about, the product supports. And a very nice risk appetite, risk assessment tool. This is all within the product. Assessments at entity levels. The same risk can be in many places, assessed separate, independently, and we're using a very simple wording there. People can pick, but actually this could be actual real values. It could be ranges. It could be 1 through 5 if you want, 1 through 3. It's completely customizable to you. Pretty heat map. You've all got various heat maps. This is one we use. It's a 4x4 quadrant, so it maps back very closely to your strategy and your quadrants within that strategy. So this shows me the numbers in that particular cell and also the values, and you can drill into that and get more detail. Click and slice and dice as you'd expect. It's just difficult on PowerPoint. Another key process is the CSA process. So one of the better used dashboards in terms of the solution, and then a very simple, very straightforward way of assessing controls. Again, all within the product, all part of a workflow-driven process. We've got some very pretty dashboards. So one of the things that we talk, we bring together performance, risk, and control. So we've reflected in dashboards. So just some really nice, simple dashboards. We're bringing in a new style, Windows 8 kind of navigation to make it very easy for people to navigate around these dashboards and really surface the data that's in the system. And one of the things you often hear about risk systems in general is you put wads of data comes in and how do you get it out, and we're surfacing this data. Risk events, so another leg of the equation in terms of your framework, and alongside risk assessments is understanding what are the events capturing, what are the events happening in your organisation. So we've got a very structured risk events process, workflow driven, which is customizable depending on your circumstances. So we start here. This is an opening screen, and as you go through, there's a range of categorizations. By default, we categorize back to Basel. Yeah. The idea here is this screen here was designed to be a relatively simple one that anyone could add an event to, and as you go through the process, more and more data is captured at the relevant stage, documentation is captured, etc. We had a few people mention the RACI framework. It's built into the system. We think this is very important. Just going beyond the sort of who's the risk owner, which is a bit of a loose, what does owner really mean? We've seen a lot of value over the years in using this methodology or this model within our clients. So we've built it into the system, and I think it's kind of one of the challenging conversations that our clients have around who's accountable, who's responsible, and really driving that sort of culture of accountability. Just this is one of the examples we sort of saying, what's actually done in the system, what's not left to be done, and who do we need to kind of talk to and push along. So we put people's names very specifically tied to the things like updating indicators, assessments, acknowledgements, etc. It's very easy. One of the things that I hope you sort of hear or feel is that the system's very flexible, and again, if you're looking at your indicators, definitions, so your KPIs, your KRIs, your KCIs, very simple to set your thresholds, and again, these are at individual indicator level, but we also have the concept of templates, so you can set up a template and just pick those up and drop them in anywhere in your framework to make the definition quick and easy. And this is just showing you a screen of what that looks like if you're updating your indicators manually. Of course, we can pull data from your line of business systems as well. And this is all driven by me as an individual. What am I responsible for updating? Nice indicator dashboard, and again, just a simple thing. We've used some of our own components here and some of the power of SharePoint. This would take a relatively good level Excel person 15-20 minutes to build this kind of dashboard. So this is a customizable ad hoc view that you can make. We talked about risk-based auditing. So we've added in the capability to track audit, so your audit planning. We've got the ability to have an audit workspace where the audit team themselves work, and they have their set of tasks and documents that go through the audit process. They define issues and actions out of that audit and the recommendations. And there's a negotiation between audit and the business on the audit points, and finally those audit points appear in the Stratex framework as actions that need to be taken by the business. And initiative management. So one of the key things, both from a sort of strategy point of view, but also a risk management point of view, is is actually the doing. So we have the concept of initiatives and actions. So we can lay out initiatives and sort of actions almost like tasks. So we think these kind of Gantt charts, these are the things we're actually going to do, and we track that through. And this can be applied at a sort of from the business point of view, but obviously also these are the kind of Gantt charts that come out of the back of an audit. Summary level dashboard, so some nice pretty, people like the dials, so some nice pretty dials. This is a front page of one of our clients' report packs, and one of the things you can see is at the back end there's a summary of all the commentary that's happened in that period as well. So you can get a flavour of what's the red, amber, greens telling me, and actually what's the commentary around that. Another very simple dashboard. Again, this is a view within the system. So back to our 7 points. I hope you agree, or I think you'll see that we offer a very comprehensive solution that ticks a lot of those boxes, both from starting at what are we trying to do as a business, right through first line, second line, third line, and then some very nice production reports that, rather than crunching things together in spreadsheets, you click your button, you press your button, and prints out the data.